Stop whatever you're doing and picture this. The defending WNBA champions are cruising through the league. 9 wins, 0 losses, looking as untouchable as a myth. Then, bang! 38 surreal seconds collapse a perfect season. 8 records shatter like glass on hardwood, and an arena erupts in disbelief. Welcome to the night. Caitlin Clark turned a daunting Liberty dynasty into a masterclass for anyone daring to dream bigger.
Clark, another long three. She's back!
The New York Liberty entered Game 10 of 2025, acting less like a basketball team and more like a fast-spreading legend. Behind Breanna Stewart's ruthless efficiency, Sabrina Ionescu's wizard-level court vision, and Jonquel Jones' paint dominance, they treated opponents the way a buzzsaw treats sawdust, shredding game plans and egos alike. Coaches obsessed over film, analysts ran out of superlatives, and fans wondered aloud, could anyone stop them before August? But cracks, tiny hairline ones, had formed in Indiana's shadow. The Fever's roster had been nursed back to health after a bruising early slate. Most important, their face of the franchise was still wearing street clothes, nursing a strained quad and a competitive itch you could feel through television screens. Caitlin Clark had circled June 14th in bold red ink. When tip-off rolled around in Indianapolis, conventional wisdom whispered another Liberty blowout. What the league forgot is that basketball always leaves room for one player, just one, to tilt the axis of possibility. Clark didn't merely tilt it, she spun it like a top.
2 players with incredible she's certainly feeling it. Left side.
Early first quarter. Indiana trails 24-13. Clark sizes up the floor, a step behind the logo. 34 feet of boldness. Flick of the wrist, splash. Arena buzzes. Inbound. 12 seconds tick away. This time it's 31 feet on the right wing. Net, pop, delirium. Liberty defenders exchange glances that say, she won't pull again, right? Wrong. 16 seconds later, Clark glides left, crosses once, plants, and lets another 31-footer fly. Boom.
Clark directing traffic, and then steps back with the 3 over Breanna Stewart. Get your players clearing out that side of the floor, shooting on Stewie, and then
9 points in 38 seconds. Gainbridge Fieldhouse tilts off its axis. Stewart, legendary competitor, can't hold back a grin. Half respect, half disbelief. That flurry didn't merely chip at New York's psyche, it detonated it. The Liberty's once comfortable 11-point cushion vanished as if someone hit delete on a spreadsheet. More than a scoring binge, it was a message. The scouting report you memorized is outdated. Welcome to version 2.0. By halftime, Clark sat on 25 points, her personal best for a single half. She would finish with 30 points, 8 boards, 9 assists, and a career-high 7 triples. A stat line that didn't exist in WNBA history until that night.
And Cunningham is down behind the play, but they've got Caitlin Clark.
Fastest to 850 career points among active players outside Cynthia Cooperdike, Simone Augustus, and Maya Moore. 45 games, that's warp speed. Third 35-5 game inside 2 seasons, surpassing Candace Parker's pace. Second most 50-point creation nights, points scored plus assisted, in league annals. Already one shy of Diana Taurasi's record that took 565 appearances to build.
Her second career start, second in a row.
Numbers alone rarely capture the emotional voltage inside a building. Yet this avalanche of milestones sent shockwaves beyond Indiana. It recalibrated the Liberty's aura from invincible to vulnerable, and it offered every contender a step-by-step playbook. Relentless pace, 30-foot spacing, and role players who punish every overhelp. Great upsets become folklore when the supporting cast refuses to fade into background noise. Lexi Hull didn't just ride Clark's tidal wave, she added her own whitecaps, career highs in points, rebounds, and assists while leading the entire league in 3-point percentage.
Austin told Mitchell to slow down and get it over to Clark. And then a perfect
Her corner triples unlocked driving lanes all night. Aaliyah Boston, distributing from the elbows like a 6'5" quarterback, logged 4+ assists yet again, the only center even flirting with that playmaking territory this season. Kelsey Mitchell, Indiana's perpetual scoring ignition, poured in 22 with timely daggers whenever New York sniffed a run. Sydney Colson provided 10 points and a half dozen dimes off the pine, steadying possessions while Clark reloaded. This synergy wasn't accidental. It was head coach Stephanie White's culture in plain sight. Encouragement, accountability, rinse, repeat. She calls it drawing strength from one another. Upsets call it essential. On film, you'll notice Indiana did 3 subtle things that rewrote expected outcomes. 1. High screens. Instead of setting ball screens at the typical 3-point line, the Fever sprinted them 5 feet higher, forcing Stewart and Jones to defend in oxygen-thin territory. That space turned Clark's 30-footers from ill-advised to automatic. 2. Switch and show, then scram. Defensively, Indiana pre-switched backside help, neutralizing New York's signature 1-4 pick-and-roll mismatches. Breanna Stewart rarely ended up with a tiny defender she could bully. 3rd, hit singles. White preached it in the pre-game huddle. The Fever skipped the home run pass, opting for crisp ball reversals until a Liberty defender bit. When they finally helped, extra pass threes rained like confetti. Those tweaks, amplified by Clark's shot-making, turned what looked like a video game glitch into a repeatable formula. When the final horn sounded, Fever 102, Liberty 88, players didn't sprint off. They lingered. Hugs, selfies, smiles too big to hide. Indiana improved to 5-5, yet looked every bit a title threat. Meanwhile, New York's locker room was quiet enough to hear sneaker squeaks down the hall. Stewart's post-game quote said it all. They punched first, second, and third. We never reset. That's the language of frustration from a champion suddenly forced back to the drawing board. For months, talk shows predicted parity was dead. June 14th resurrected it in 120 noisy minutes. League-wide TV ratings spiked the following week. Tickets in opposing arenas featuring Indiana began selling like playoff seats. Parity is fun again, because Caitlin Clark and company proved any night can become a headline. Clark's heroics, grab clips, but the larger revelation is velocity. Indiana's improvement curve is steeper than any rivals. They own the league's youngest superstar, a generational center in Boston, and shooters trending toward historic accuracy. Add an offense that stretches to 35 feet, and you suddenly force defenses to pick their poison before the ball even crosses half court. Playoff seeding. At 5-5, the Fever are already chasing a Commissioner's Cup berth. Their toughest stretch of travel is behind them, and 5 of their next 7 contests are at home. Historical pace. Clark projects to eclipse Torres's all-time 50-point creation record by August at her current clip. A statistical carrot that sells jerseys and psyche-outs defenders. Psychological warfare. The Liberty's myth of invulnerability is gone. Teams will now attack that high defensive hedge, daring New York centers to defend space they'd rather not visit. Indiana didn't just solve a Rubik's Cube for themselves, they broadcast the solution to 10 other franchises who lacked the firepower to test it. In a league historically dominated by veteran cores, a sophomore-led revolution feels downright disruptive. Clark's post-game grin was equal parts relief and pure competitive joy. "It's like we just started a new season," she quipped, echoing Stephanie White's mid-huddle mantra. Remember, she'd spent 5 games forced into observer mode, tracking scouting reports, rehearsing footwork and warm-ups, then sitting helpless once the lights came on. That sabbatical only sharpened her saw. Teammates rave about the mundane stuff. Clark stays late to rebound for rookies, she FaceTimes injured teammates after practices they can't join, and she memorizes defensive rotations like a trivia nut. Those habits so fabric the stat sheet can't measure but championships require. June 14th wasn't just an offensive fireworks show. It was a public unveiling of chemistry cultivated away from the cameras. Roll the mental highlight reel. A 34-footer whips the net, Lexi Hull pounds her chest, Aaliyah Boston threads a bounce pass through a forest, Stephanie White fist bumps her entire bench in rapid fire. Stewart stands hands on hips, processing a new reality. Overlay the scoreboard flipping from Liberty dominance to fever frenzy. Fade to Clark walking off, autographing a neon orange sneaker for a wide-eyed kid who will never forget that night. That's not just a singular win, that's a paradigm shift. So, if you've been waiting for proof that the WNBA's balance of power can pivot overnight, bookmark June 14, 2025. If you bleed Indiana red, scream it loud, CC GOAT. And if you're every other franchise scouting film right now, good luck. The bar just moved another 5 feet behind the arc. Like, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss the next chapter, and drop your best Clark depth guess in the comments. How far back will she pull next? 35 feet? 40? Whatever number you pick, understand this. When Caitlin Clark steps across half court, math bends, records tumble, and the future of basketball extends one jaw-dropping shot further into the horizon.